Hey everyone, it's Brokefang Mage Punk, and we're here to make checkpoints and spawners for your game. So let's get started. It's actually super simple. We're gonna start by making off our player character, and we'll give some love to the starting cube. But we'll just add an empty, and we'll scale it up just a little bit, and now parent things to that empty. So you want to click the child and add it to the parent. Click the child and add it to the parent. Perfect. And what we'll do is first our character model, we'll turn that to no collision. We'll turn our empty into character. And let's add a plane. Alright, whatever. So we'll scale that up. And we'll move it down. Duplicate that. We'll move it down again. And we'll make it bigger. On this bottom one, we'll add the property of die. And I just like to make it a boolean, just to make sure it's always turned on. On the character, we'll add player. And again, I like booleans just to make sure they're turned on at all times. Okay, let's add a little bit of logic now. So, making sure that we have our empty selected, which is going to be where all the controls are attached to. We're going to add keyboard, and I'm just going to use a spacebar just for the example. And then we want motion. That's not motion. And connect them together. And let's do one on the Y, positive Y, it's going to go that way. We'll just test it out to be sure. Boom. Okay, so now when we want to have our character die, we will add our collision with property die. And that will be edit object and then end object. Again, give that a try. It's working so far. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to add our spawn object, which will just be an empty. And let's just move it over here. Let's move it up a bit. Make sure it's not off the edge. And let's just rename our stuff right now. Always a good idea to name everything. This way, when you're far along in your game, you don't have 1,000 empties or 1,000 planes, or you know what I mean. And I also like to just turn on the name in here. Spawner. So what we want when the player collides with the ground, what we want to do is send message to the spawner. And we'll just say spawn. And we'll do message spawn add object, edit object, add object, and we want player, which I did not name. add object, or and you could always just use the dropper. Get that together, test it out. Okay, so what happened here is if you're having trouble adding an object through this type of system here, it's because this original object is visible. So let's just change this up just a little bit. We'll add a keyboard. We'll say spacebar again. We're going to connect that to here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a state. Turn that to state 2. And we'll add the message to that. And then we'll control and right click, and alt and right click will cut your lines. And we'll find ourselves at state 2. Let's just add a little delay. Let's do 1 second, which will be 60 frames. And then we'll add our edit object and player. Connect them up. Perfect. So now what we do is we make sure everything that's attached to that empty has to be invisible. So now we'll hit play, should hit space bar and it spawns. Perfect. Space bar, oh. What happened there? Just 1 second, I'll figure this out. Okay, so pretty simple. I had this a little messed up, so we're actually going to get rid of the spawn, get rid of this and we'll just connect these two together. So you hit spacebar, the object comes in, and then we go to state 2. On state 2, we'll get that message of spawn. Okay, let's give that a try. Spacebar, spawn. Spacebar, go. Die. There we go. Super simple. Now let's add our checkpoint. So add empty, and do basically anything you want. Well, let's just go for an empty. Let's just play with the size a bit. Make sure we can't just go through or around it. And we'll name this one checkpoint. And we'll get the name in front just so we can see it. Let's go over to our logic. So for the checkpoint, the best thing I've found is to use the logic node editor. And then what we're going to do is, where are we here? Values, and then we want property, and evaluate property. Oh, so and we have to give a property to this checkpoint. Call it checkpoint. And we're going to add a boolean on that too. So we're going to keep that one off for now. And then on our player, okay, so back to our logic. So we want to, when the player collides, what we want to do is set property. So we want to, since it's a boolean, what you can just do is toggle, or you can do assign, and you can type in true. Just make sure you have that. And properties player. And just for testing out, what we'll do is we'll turn on, where are we here? So this little eye here should show up when we play the game. Oh, because we didn't hide this. Okay, that did not work. Turn on debug. Okay, it's hard to see, but up here in the corner you can see it's false. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, so what I've done here quickly is, if you click on this eye here, it'll show up in your properties. Click on here and make sure you can see them properly. I like to click on debug and the frame rate. Hit P. You can see that player equals true, checkpoint equals false. Move forward. It's still false. What's going on? So first thing, let's go to our checkpoints and go to our game properties. We'll click on sensor, detect actors. What's going on with our cube? It's a character, but it's not an actor. So let's try this now. True, false, and true, true. But it stays true. We don't want that right now. So we'll hide this again. Click on our checkpoints. What we'll do is just add another collision. We'll invert this collision. Player. And then property. Sign, checkpoint, false. Let's try that again. True, true, and back to false. Okay, first part done. So now what we're going to do is we want to evaluate the over here and evaluate property. And make sure it's equal to this object. Properties checkpoint. And it's a Boolean. And we want to make sure if it's true, so we'll click on that. Now, if true, what do we want to do? What we want to do is set position. So we'll go to objects, set attributes, just do set world position. And what we want to set is our spawner. And what we need to do though is we need to get this position here. So we'll add objects, get attribute, get world position, and we'll click on checkpoint. So that's going to go right there. And that should be it. Okay, so it didn't work. Why not? So this didn't work because this has not been attached to this checkpoint. So what we'll do is we'll go into our dashboard and apply to selected, and let's give that a try. Spacebar, spacebar. Now our spawner is there. Boom. Okay, super simple. Now how do we turn this into 1, 2, 3, 20 checkpoints? Well, first we'll scale this up a bit. And all we have to do is duplicate. And we'll move it a bit. And we'll play. First one. Okay, it's not. Why? Why do you think? Well, it's actually super simple. Even though this has the same logic node on it, it's still getting the position from this checkpoint. So to fix this, it's super simple. This object here, this use owner button, So now you could duplicate this as many times as you want, and it's still going to, because you have use owner, it'll only use the one you recently touched. So let's try that again. P. And oh, there we move here. And we move here. So let's scale that on the Y. Scale that on the Y. Then we can go Shift D, Shift D, Shift D. This is to show you that you can, it's one simple setup and you don't need anything else. P to play, spacebar. There you go. Nice and simple. And I haven't tested it out too much yet, but you should be able to add a game, save game node, maybe onto the true. So then every time you go through a checkpoint, it saves. Well, we're not going to test that out right now. But anyways, that was it, everybody. Just super simple checkpoint system and a spawner that you can put, just copy all the checkpoints you want. Hit set and forget. Just one more time in big screen. So a P, here's your player. As you can see, everything is false. True, 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 true. Perfect. One thing to note is with your spawner, try to keep it at the 1 scale. If you scale it up, what will happen is your character will be larger. And the same thing, let's bring this down to 0.5, so it's smaller. Now your character will be small. So if you have any size changing mechanics in your game, that's a pretty easy way to implement it. Get to a certain checkpoint, boom, you're smaller size. And there you go, everybody. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and all that kind of junk. Have a good one.